Rafael Nadal, the fiercest competitor in tennis history, was spotted sobbing on video. Not following a defeat. Not in an interview after retirement. Sitting at home in Mallorca, he witnessed a 20-year-old Filipino girl, with a racket in hand and tears streaming down her face, fall to the ground on the opposite side of the globe. Rafa also broke. The video went viral on the internet. Millions of views in a few hours. Suddenly, people who hadn't thought about tennis in years were unable to put down their phones. Everyone wants to know who she is and why she is so important to him. I will inform you. It goes far deeper than you might think, I assure you. Consider the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. Clay courts scorched in the sun. Strict timetables. Under a merciless Mediterranean sky, elite juniors from all across Europe subject their bodies to daily punishment. This is not a gentle place. It was founded on tenacity, perseverance, and the conviction that champions are created, not found. A 12-year-old girl from Manila entered those gates in 2016 with just one bag and a dream that was most likely too big for it. Alex Eala was her name. Furthermore, very few people had any idea what to think of her. She remained silent. She was diminutive. She is from a nation where tennis does not dominate national discourse, where infrastructure is inadequate, and where the path to professional tennis is really more difficult structurally than most junior tennis players in Europe would ever have to take. No well-known family name. In the sport, there is no generational bloodline. No form of safety net. What she possessed was a scholarship and a readiness to endure hardship in order to pursue her passion. Scholarship athletes are not given special treatment by the academy. The bar is, if anything, greater. You wake up every morning and demonstrate your worth against children supported by wealthy families, well-established coaching networks, and contacts that span the whole junior circuit in Europe. Ella continued to train. Matches that ought to have gone to her were lost. Exhausted and occasionally heartbroken, she dragged herself back to a dorm room in a distant nation and arrived the following morning before the sun had fully risen, prepared to leave once more. Even the greatest champion the sport has ever produced recognizes that kind of calm, unyielding, and unbreakable will. Rafael Nadal started observing her growth in between his own competitions, comebacks, and bouts with injuries. There is now no official coaching system, no courtside clipboard, and nothing formal. He just watched. And he recognized something about this young Filipino girl. Something from his own early years on those very courts. When pressed, she didn't crumble. She took it in, changed it, made use of it. She won the Australian Open girls title in 2022 as a junior Grand Slam champion, and her style of tennis forced commentators to look for adjectives outside of their typical language. By 2023, she was competing on the professional tour against opponents who were hundreds of spots ahead of her in every quantifiable area, older, stronger, and more seasoned. Many of those matches were losses for her. She returned for each and every one of them. Alex Eala didn't receive a single point that she didn't battle hard for. Miami Open in March 2025, one of the WTA's most important hardcore events. Ella was a wild card. World ranking, 140. In terms of statistics, she had no place in that draw because it was full of players who had been competing at the highest level for years, including top 10 veterans and former slam champions. In the second round, she defeated Madison Keys. Composed. Beyond her years, clinical. The tennis community was taken aback. Yelena Ostapenko, a former Roland Garros champion whose explosive, erratic ball striking confuses seasoned pros, was defeated by her in the third round. Eala adjusted in the middle of the game, didn't freak out, and left the court after handling it. Both eyebrows are firmly elevated. Then came Iga Swiatek, the quarterfinal. Multiple Grand Slam champion, ranked second in the world. Possibly the most formidable force in women's tennis during the previous 3 years, she was the type of player whose mental toughness had turned opponents into rubble in every situation and on every surface. She lost to Eala in straight sets. There was a short circuit in the tennis internet. Clips simultaneously appear on all platforms. Former athletes expressed their shock in public. Journalists on television rushed to find appropriate wording. The frequency with which the word generational surfaced in discussion feeds showed that no one had a better choice. The private message then arrived. Rafael Nadal contacted Eala directly after formally retiring from professional tennis the previous November in a farewell ceremony that left the sport in true grief. Although the details weren't made public right away, she mentioned hearing from Rafa in a quick post-match interview that went viral in a matter of minutes. Her reaction conveyed something intimate, overpowering, and very genuine. She expressed her gratitude. In the context of a news conference, she said that his remarks indicated something she was unable to adequately express. In any case, the world understood. Because her left-handed forehand hit with topspin and controlled ferocity, her reluctance to give up baseline exchanges, and her nearly miraculous ability to elevate when the pressure got intolerable were all already visible to everyone who had watched her that week. She performed as though she had received in-depth instruction from a guy who had exemplified each of the values she was exhibiting, rather than from a coaching guidebook. Years before this, Rafa had poured that wisdom into her. Simply put, Miami was the moment the world realized what it had created. June of 2025. England's Eastbourne. Grass court time. Wimbledon is 2 weeks away. Eala made it to the championship game. Championship points came in. She won her first WDA title with a single, flawless, executable shot. She didn't see it. Next comes the next. The game changed. The particular, surgical cruelty that only tennis can produce caused the momentum to vanish. The adversary leaned closer. The audience behind her, which had been boisterous, became stiff with that specific hush that descends when something horrible is happening and nobody can stop it. Eala was defeated. At the transition, she sobbed while sitting in her chair. Nor sobbing calmly, nor crying for the cameras. She sobbed in the honest, unadulterated, completely human way that people cry when they've given all and yet failed. It has nothing to do with professional expectations, strategy, or optics. It was captured on camera. The video went viral right away. Rafael Nadal spotted it on his phone while he was in Mallorca. He posted the video again. For the words that go with it. For words that, depending on your relationship with sport, with loss, with the special anguish of almost, will either constrict your chest, fill your eyes, or both at the same moment. She'll return. No analysis. No recommendations for enhancements. No polished public declaration. A man who had lost said just 4 words. Wimbledon finals of his own, who comprehended championship point collapses from both sides of the emotional barrier, who knew exactly what Alex Eala was going through at the time, and who wanted her and everyone watching to hear one clear reality. She would return. In just 2 days, hundreds of thousands of comments were made. Nadal lovers, tennis enthusiasts, Filipino supporters, and those who couldn't think of a single player now competing. For words and the weight they held brought them all together. Guadalajara, September 2025 WTA 250 event in Mexico. Hard courts in the late season. It's the kind of competition where careers subtly depend on outcomes that don't always receive the attention they merit. Eala had advanced from a 3-set semifinal the day before to the final. She was obviously exhausted. Yes, neutral observers were skilled yet cautious. Yes, Miami is on the resume. However, no prior knowledge can adequately prepare you for the psychological impact of exams. That was previously demonstrated by Eastbourne. The opening set was lost by her. The narrative appeared to be repeating itself until roughly 8 minutes into the second. Sensing the chance, the opposition began building points with increasing assurance. The audience became more subdued, and then Alex Eala felt something change. No one in the audience could determine the precise timing. No obvious release, no dramatic gesture, and no coaching intervention. She merely substituted something controlled, fierce, and completely definite for the first set's careful hesitancy. There was no solid ground for her opponent to stand on. The second set was won by her. The third was won by her. She won the tournament, and 3 years of sacrifice, dorm nights in Mallorca, junior losses, professional setbacks, Miami upsets, and Eastbourne heartbreak, arrived in her body all at once when the final point was scored. Alex Eala fell to the court, her face buried in her racket, and the Guadalajara crowd gave her every second of their attention. She remained there for a long time, and when he watched the video on his screen in Mallorca, the retiring champion who had spent 10 years pouring his values, his competitive philosophy, and his sincere belief into this young woman felt a split open in his chest. Within an hour, the video of Rafa's response went viral. Views in the tens of millions. Headlines in 40 different nations. The identical statement was written in multiple languages by journalists who covered tennis and those who did not. In November 2025, precisely a year after the most painful retirement in professional tennis history, Rafael Nadal sobbed as he saw Alex Eala win. Rafael Nadal returned to a practice court with just his practice clothes, 2 rackets, and 1 other person. There was no tournament, no cameras, no press obligation, and no PR arrangement. For 2 hours, Alex Eala and she practiced together. What subsequently surfaced through sources close to both, and ultimately Eala herself in an open interview, described a session that was simultaneously professional and intensely personal, structured and unplanned, technical and emotional. Nadal focused on her forehand in particular. Pressure on the grip when in contact. Angle of follow-through. The mechanics that produce topspin without sacrificing directional control are weight transfer into the ball. Nor ideas that are abstract. The details that distinguish a historic forehand from a good one. He had spent 20 years honing his skills against the best opponents the sport had ever seen on hard, grass, and clay courts. He was providing the blueprint to her. Eala later said that she spent parts of the session persuading herself that it was genuinely taking place. That the person whose name was on the building around them was the one standing across the net, feeding her balls and providing technical advice with the authority of someone with 22 Grand Slam victories. She recounted a particular instance during a rally in which Rafael Nadal personally demonstrated the forehand technique. Striking the ball with a quality that reminded everyone watching why the greatest conversation ever revolves around his name, he continued to move with the meticulous deliberateness of a man protecting surgically repaired joints. She claimed to have completely stopped moving. Just observed. Allow the ball to pass. Laughing, he instructed her to continue playing. She claimed that she nearly couldn't. The Guadalajara video traveled in a different way than that clip. Less detonating. More delicate. The most impactful answer came from common folks. The picture of Nadal on a court once again, not competing but transferring, giving everything he'd learned to the person most capable of bringing it forward, suddenly confronted fans who had sincerely lamented his retirement and felt his absence from tour as something personal. It wasn't just a passing of the torch. Together, they had ignited it. Rafael Nadal started crying. A trophy was raised by Alex Eala. The world stopped everything to witness 2 individuals who were divided by nationality, generation, and a retirement ceremony that had seemed so final enjoy a single, remarkable moment that tennis had never fully delivered before. This isn't a tale about a single game, a single viral video, or a single phone emotion. This is the tale of what transpires when sincere belief and sincere effort come together in a quiet, unglamorous manner over the course of 10 years of labor, culminating in a public appearance. The Manila girl went on to become a champion. Watching it happen, the Mallorcan champion started crying. And something that the sport will remember long after both of their careers are completely lost to history exists somewhere in between those 2 facts. You already know why this channel exists if you were impacted by this narrative and experienced even a little portion of Rafa's emotions as that last point was scored. We discover the moments that lie behind the moments. The tears behind the awards. The people who create the rankings. Sign up right now. Press the bell. I promise you won't want to miss the following story, which is already waiting.